If I was given $100 for every time I killed a Juggernaut with Striker, I would be able to pay off my student loans. Hey guys, welcome back to another guide video. My name's Nighthawk, you can call me Hockey for short, and welcome to my guide for Striker. This video is going to cover everything from interesting facts to pro tips, and including damage and range, best holes to use, best free-to-play arguments, best pay-to-win arguments, and alternate pay-to-win arguments. So sit back, relax, get some popcorn, and let's start the video. Now, before starting every video, huge disclaimer, everything is still subject to change, so, meta shifts happen pretty often in Tanki Online. The damage might not be the same, but it will be relatively around those numbers. Now, let's start off the video by explaining to you what Striker actually does. Well, Striker has two different modes of shooting. The arcade mode, which is your left click, or you can hold your left click and have a load time of a few seconds to shoot 4 rockets in total. Unlike most turrets in Tanki Online, Striker has no damage limit, meaning that you could shoot from anywhere and you'll do full 100% damage. Now, for Striker, it has a weird gimmick. So when you're hitting your arcade shot, it starts from your right and then the left salvo. Now, if you die while using your left salvo, you do respawn. Your damage your rocket comes from the right side instead of the left. Now, let's talk about Striker's range and damage. The range for Striker is unlimited because it has no damage drop-off, meaning that you could shoot technically from across the map. Every rocket that Striker shoots out does a total of 900 damage. Now, a few pro tips that you do want to remember when you're playing with Striker, depending on what argument you're using, you want to keep a somewhat of a safe distance from the enemy. A range between 40 to 60 meters is recommended. Being too close to the enemy is also a really huge downside since the turret does self-damage, and if you want to kill efficiently with Striker, you have to keep yourself at some sort of a further distance than normal other turrets. Moving on, let's talk about the cost of upgrading. Upgrading from MK0 to MK7 costs a total of 397,000 crystals and 33 rubies. It costs an additional 456,000 to go from MK7 level 0 to MK7 level 20, so a total of 853,000 crystals and 33 ruby. At 30% discount, it costs a total of 597,100 crystals, and at 50% discount, it costs a total of 426,000 crystals. Let's talk about the best drones to use for Striker. The best drones that you could possibly use for Striker are Defender, Booster, and Hyperion. Defender overall is a pretty decent option if you want more health. Booster is specifically good if you're hunting for Juggernauts. Hyperion is also good, and I completely forgot about Crisis. Crisis is super good when you pair it with Crusader Lifeguard. Let's talk about the best pay-to-win and alternate pay-to-win arguments for Striker. The best pay-to-win arguments for Striker are Tandem, Hydra, Faust, Vacuum Missiles, Missile Launcher, aka Meteor, and Pulsar. Now, for Tandem, the main advantage is that your aiming time is decreased, making it much more faster for you to shoot. The main disadvantage is that you only have 2 shots for your rockets, and the reach charge time is increased by a little bit. For Hydra specifically, it has a total of 20 rockets, making it super good to kill multiple enemies. The main disadvantage is that your normal and critical damage is decreased and your reload is doubled. Now, moving on to Faust, the main advantage is that your reload time and aim time is decreased, but the main disadvantage is that you're stuck at a 40-meter range, making it the only Striker argument that is somewhat really good for close-range combat. Vacuum missiles make it so that when you are hitting an enemy, it does 230% damage, meaning that if you hit a direct enemy, it won't do as much damage as if you were to hit someone that was much further away. It's super splash reliant, making it increase by 230% when you do hit an enemy with splash. The only main disadvantage is that your rocket acceleration time is increased by 1.5 seconds, and it is possible to do self-damage to yourself if you click your left click way too early. Now, moving on to Meteor, the main advantage is that your damage and impact force is increased by 50%. The main disadvantage is that you don't have much of a splash radius left for this argument. Now, moving on to Pulsar, the main advantage is that every time you hit a critical hit, the following status will apply: Jammer, EMP, Stun, and AP. The main disadvantage is that your critical chances decrease and your critical damage is also decreased. Now, if you don't have any of these arguments, your best alternate pay-to-win arguments are any of the status arguments. Typically, you want to be using magnetic missiles or AP missiles. Incendiary missiles are also a really great option, but if you don't have any of those, then your best bet is going jammer missiles. Let's talk about the best free-to-play arguments that you could use for Striker. The best free-to-play arguments you could use for Striker are Missile Launcher Cyclone or Remote Rocket Explosive. Now for Missile Launcher Cyclone, the main advantage is that you have a total of 8 rockets. The only disadvantage is that your aim time is increased, making it longer for you to actually unload your clip into the enemy. For RRE, aka Remote Rocket Explosive, the main advantage is that you're able to manually explode your rockets on top of enemy. Another advantage is that your rocket speed is increased, but the main disadvantage is that your rocket acceleration is the acceleration time is decreased by 1.5 seconds, and it is possible to do self-damage to yourself. Now, if you don't have any of these arguments, your best alternate free-to-play argument is Adrenaline, and for that, it's mostly effective at lower HP. Your regular and critical damage is increased up to 23%. Let's talk about hulls. The best hulls you could possibly use for Striker are Crusader, Palacringe, Viking, and typically all of the medium turrets. Titan isn't also a bad option. Ares is a good option if you're a PK fighter. For Mammoth, it's not so good. Light hulls are a definite no-go. Now, the reason I won't say the heavy hulls are bad is because it tends to somehow work out for this turret, and I would only recommend using medium hulls if you want to do well with it. And that ends my guide for Striker. If you do have any questions, I did see a comment in the previous video saying that I should go over hull arguments, so do be on the lookout for that. I'll see you guys all in another video. Peace out.